What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on D's Analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR, Bitcoin, going over some indicators and some different charts. So today we closed at 367.18. We originally opened at 362 or so. Then we ended up pushing all the way down to 359. Kind of met an equal bottom with these wicks over here. Found support on this larger time frame zone here that we had drawn out for some time here, and we pushed back up. Currently sitting at 368 in post market or after hours, and at some point we did run up to 370 and then ended up getting a little bit of a rejection. But if we were to start to create higher highs and higher lows like we saw in this move here, then the double bottom could definitely start to play out. So we could get that double bottom being formed here potentially to push up higher, maybe break this downward sloping trend line, retest, and then push up to the top of this golden zone. Ideally, that would also make sense with a bull flag or a bull pennant. Now, once we make it to this region here, we have to think about possible rejection. Hopefully we can break right through it, but we have to expect a little bit of rejection to see if we continue to chop and then make a decision further down, or that breakout scenario, which would, make the double bottom play out perfectly. On a smaller scale, if you were to pull a fib from here to the bottom, you can see that this is a bullish or a bearish pull. We pulled up to the 0.5 of the 618 right here on the golden zone. I'll draw it out so you can see it. The golden zone, 0.5 of the 618, and we got rejected off of that mini golden zone to the downside. So we found rejection off of that, a level of resistance, and we pushed down. So let's see if it continues on down, or we can just rip right through it. But of course, like I've been saying for what feels like forever now, we have to break this large golden zone here. This is the key one that we're looking for. We have to break that one, which we've been getting rejected off of multiple times, but eventually we will break it, I believe. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure that it will happen. We are also nearing the bottom of the channel and this upward sloping trend line. As you can see, we're pretty much a week or two away if we just continue sideways to hitting it. So maybe we'll get our bounce there, or maybe we get the bounce here. But we have been holding this level of support, which is a very good sign. Hopefully we don't lose it. Right now we are still holding it pretty well though. And when you take a look here on the EMA, you can see we are below our 8-day EMA. And on our weekly, we are also underneath the weekly. So if we can get a daily close back above our EMA, which would be around 375, a daily close there, that would be a nice little bullish sign. Of course, we want to get a more of an extended move off of it, but just breaking above it would be the first step in the right direction. On the weekly SMA, we're still looking very good. We're still holding well above. On a larger time frame, we look very, very bullish still. Here on the daily, we're still underneath our 50 and 20, so we're going to have some resistance at around 373 to about 375, which is that level that we were just talking about on the 8 EMA that we need to hold so we can start to have a move to the upside. But price is probably still going to get sandwiched in between that and this larger golden zone, along with extra resistance, which is going to be more confluence to the downside with this downward sloping trend line here. And that downward sloping trend line originates all the way back from this high over here. When we look at the daily Bollinger Bands, we also have another level of resistance at the 376 mark. So there's a bunch of resistance right here at the top of these wicks. So getting a close in that 375, 376 region can allow us to get a little bit of a pressure relief and potentially make it back to at least the bottom of this golden zone and see what happens here if we get rejected again or can actually break through. When we look at global liquidity, we're still okay. Of course, there's deviations at time. This thing isn't, foolproof 100% of the time, just accurate like that. That's not how it works. This is more of a guide that price is in the, in a bull trend more than anything. It's not a day by day or week by week kind of thing that's going to be perfect. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So this is more of a tool just to be, on the right side of the direction for an extended move. If we were to get back into rhythm with it, then we should be seeing higher prices as global liquidity has been ramping up, kind of been trending sideways, but we still have a pretty decent leg ahead of us before we even reach this point. Here on Bitcoin, we fell down to that 98.2 level, and it looks like we're getting a nice bounce. We are holding back in the zone that we've been wanting to hold. We've been holding that for a pretty good amount of time, which is this range here from about 110 to about 102. We're back inside of it. It's nice to see. I did say that if we were to push up here and get a wick off of it, back down and fill this wick to the bottom side, then if we were to fill this wick and close on a daily candle, then I think that we would touch a 96, but it looks like that's not going to be the case right now. It looks like we're more than likely going to get a daily close above 102.7, and now that opens up the idea of retesting and then making it back to the mid level of this entire range, eventually hopefully breaking through, retesting, and then making it to the top of the range. But you will run into some resistance along the way as you have this downward sloping trend line established, which we need to break out of, which lines up with our larger time frame bull flag. So if that was, like I said, our theoretical bottom, like I said in previous videos, right there, that lines up with that 145 level, which also lines up with the local highs that have been broken throughout the run up from January 2023. They have been running around anywhere from 40 to 50% after breaking each local high. And that kind of lines up with this 145 level, along with some Fibonacci levels as well. On the daily SMA, we are going to run into some resistance at around 105K, which is also going to be in confluence with this mid level of this range. So you're going to have resistance there above our head, the 20 and the 50. On the 4 hour, we will have some resistance around 104. We have the 50 on top of our head, and then we have the 200 at 106, which is going to be another strong level of resistance. So we have some work to do before we can break through these levels. And we are right in line with our EMA right here, the 8 EMA on the daily. So if we can get a close right there at 103, currently where we're at, I would say 103.7 or higher, then that's going to open up the likelihood of us creating a nice little move to the upside, hopefully. Hopefully we don't get a fake out like we saw here and push back down, because right now the trend is bearish. Of course, as you can see, it's creating a steeper downtrend. So we need to break that as well. So if we can close ideally above this downward sloping trend line and the 8 EMA, it's going to open up a higher chance of us continuing up higher. And once we break this downward sloping trend line, that's going to open up the likelihood of touching this original upward or downward sloping trend line. The RSI on the daily for Bitcoin is pushing back up to this yellow moving average, and it is potentially going to find some resistance, or we can finally break out of it and create some momentum to the upside. And on the weekly, we're actually creating higher highs, higher lows, a nice bull flag established. And we actually got a bounce off of our yellow moving average, which coincided with this bottom here at 98.2, which also lined up with this horizontal level of support. So that's like a perfect play right here, showing a lot of strength here on Bitcoin. We'll see what we get over the next upcoming weeks and months, but right now it's lining up pretty well. On the weekly MACD, we're still holding in bullish territory, creating a nice move, but we are seeing a decrease in volume. But now after a nice little move, let's see how the weekly candle turns out. And here on the daily, it's actually still in a very bearish trend right now. We are starting to see the volume to the downside start to dwindle a little bit, and we're pushing back up. So hopefully this can continue and we get a green flip and we see a nice extended move like we saw here to the upside. So this is a very interesting way of looking at Bitcoin. I inverted the scale to get a different set of eyes on this, because you look at the same chart so long that you kind of start to miss things, but when you invert it, it looks like a completely different asset. When you flip it and we're pushing to the downside, we get a retracement up to the golden zone, the 0.5 of 618, and this is a bearish pull, also known as a bullish pull on actual Bitcoin. And we got a perfect bounce to the downside, which is bullish, of course. And that's a perfect play off of Bitcoin. So if we were to take our flagpole and we say that's our flagpole there, and we measure that out, this takes us to much higher prices if we take it from this leg. Oh, if we take it from here and measure that out, that takes us to about the 164. It is looking pretty bullish right now. And I do think if we can break this upward sloping trend line, then we could get a push down to this trend line over here and eventually break further down. But this is looking very bearish on this chart here when you look at it. It's a very, very bearish trend. So, and honestly, we'll just pull another fib here and see where we're at. Currently, take a look here. We got a bounce off of our 382, which is showing a very strong continuation to the downside. So this could just be the middle of an actual leg. So we could really be creating this flagpole out again, and we're just getting a minor retracement to continue on down further, because if we continue pushing up here, then the move gets weaker. But if we can hold these 382s or 236 levels, it can actually increase the likelihood and the strength to the downside here on Bitcoin, of course, on the inverted scale. And when you zoom out, you can kind of see where things look like they could play out, where we've had our touches to the bottom and tops of the channel. It looks like we could potentially get that drop down there. That's a pretty large move, of course, on Bitcoin. I don't know if we make it all the way there. The perfect scenario would have to play out, like I said, with geopolitical tensions and the way the Federal Reserve plays things, the way the economy holds up. So everything would have to be a perfect storm with mass adoption and everything like that, with the right translated cycle, if we really want to see that significant move to the downside. But it does look like it's going to continue the trend further down or up on Bitcoin. And this looks like it's honestly just a minor reset and cool off in price before another leg down on the inverted scale, of course. On MSTR divided by IBIT, you can see it was just another sideways day. Underperformed a little bit, not by too much, by 0.6. As you can see, it's kind of just compressed. It's not really doing much. We're not going down very much. We're not going up very much. We're just sideways. Hopefully this bear flag does not play out. But if it were to play out, you're looking at much lower levels. Ideally, we want to see a nice move to the upside. And once we break this level of 647 and eventually this upward sloping trend line, I think we can have a clean move to about 7 flat, I would say, on MSTR divided by IBIT. When you take a look at the SMAs, we are holding our 20 still, but we will have to break through that 50 on the way up. And on the weekly, we are still battling with our 20 week, which is a key level that we don't want to lose, but we're currently underneath it. Hopefully we can wick off of it and push back up. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. Like and subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think about everything and the inverted chart. Let me know what you think. If it's nice to see a fresh set of eyes like on the chart by flipping it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.